Hey, hi, everybody. How are you doing this evening? It has been a little bit since I've seen you. I did get to put up a podcast this week with Jeremiah Bullfrog and with Andy, of course, and they did a great job doing a deep dive on Hawaii and all that's going on over there. So I really encourage you to go back and watch the show from 2 days ago when we put that up. It's really intense, really important stuff. We're learning so much. Guys, I'm guilty of being one of the people who thought of Hawaii as just a vacation spot, but there's a whole lot more to it. So encourage you to go back and watch that. But anyway, it's good to be back here with you. I'm going to start narrowing this down to probably 3 shows a week, just to let you know. It's just a lot to do 5 days a week. So I'm going to do 3 days a week and really just bring you hopefully really great interviews and great stuff. But today I've got something really heavy on my heart, and I'm sure some of you are watching just because of the content that we're going to talk about tonight. I know it's controversial. I know that it's not everybody's favorite topic. That's okay. We got to talk about it. We're going to talk about this whole idea of sovereign citizen and state national, and we're going to get into it some. We're going to watch some of I guess the guy who I think people are saying is the creator of it. I'm not 100% certain if he was the original creator of it or not, but we are going to watch some video clips from him tonight as well. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about something super, super cool. Listen, I want to introduce you to Patriot 1776 store. Now, this is cool. This is a brand new, first time I've talked about Patriot 7076 store. And let me just tell you what this is. So if you are still supporting toxic brands, and you know me, I am all about getting away from supporting the big boxes and supporting toxic and, living clean and free of chemicals, because who knows what they're putting in those chemicals, right? And also defunding the deep state. So if you are still supporting toxic brands and companies owned by woke media corporations, that is what Patriot 1776 store is here to help with. They found you a solution, a company committed to making their products in America. That's right. They're all made here in America. And we can't say that about a lot of things, right? Privately owned, which means that BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard can't get a voting interest by owning their stock and forcing ESG, DEI policies. Ugh. So this company is making its own decisions, employing Americans and not putting toxic chemicals into your products and food. Isn't that awesome? So this is what I love. I love solutions. I'm a solutions girl, and we have one for all of this stuff. It's a membership service that can be thought of as a competitor to Amazon and the big box stores like Target and Walmart. They have over 400 necessary everyday household items, such as cleaning supplies and baby supplies and medicines, healthy snacks like protein bars, weight loss, and fitness products. Who doesn't want that? And it's healthy. It's made in America. Personal care items, and so much more. They even have, get this, this is my favorite part, antibiotic free, mRNA vaccine free prime choice steaks. Yes, absolutely. So they are all high quality products that are just as good or better than their mainstream counterparts and at competitive prices for their members. So why give hundreds of dollars a month to corporations that hate us, right? that are trying to destroy our country, when there's an American patriot owned company who is providing alternatives. Go to patriot1776.store today, fill out the form at the top of the page. You'll receive an email or text soon after explaining how to get involved and become a member. This could be a great solution for how to vote with your dollars when it comes to your family or household's monthly essential spending. Amen. I mean, that sounds good to me. That's just all the way around a good thing. So I love it. I love it so much. So please go out there and do that. Okay. Let me get back to my screen here. Oh, can't see. Took my glasses off. Is this it? Nope. That's the one we're about to go. A little picture of David Straight. He is a gentleman who I am watching. I'm 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 watching the videos. It's difficult to get through them. I mean, like the first sentence out of the gate, I was just like, "Oh no, this is gonna be this is gonna be a hard a hard thing to sit through for me." But we're gonna go through it. I am not gonna go through the whole every minute of this series with you, but there's a couple things that I want you to pay attention to. We're going to get into this so that we can talk about some of these things. And I've been out on True Social all day today and another day, a couple days this week, talking about this stuff, but it's like one person at a time, right? And I need to be able to talk to all of you and have this video as a resource to refer back to and to like let you hear straight from the horse's mouth some of the things that are being said and told to beautiful Americans everywhere. And I know some of you who are listening may have embraced this. I want to ask you to do something for me. Everybody here, whether you're for or against, I want to ask you if we could for tonight. You're not in the same room with me. Where this is a monologue. You don't have you won't be able to say something back to me. I mean, you can chat in the log chats if you want to, but I want you to just think about this. It is so easy for us to grab onto personalities and to certain people who come off with a lot of confidence and a lot of um, who sound like experts in something. I want you to suspend that. There's something that he does say, and he says, I was, and I don't, not verbatim, we might hear it tonight. I don't know if I'll land on that clip or not, but he says, you know, I used to think I just had to obey all my leaders, you know, just whatever they told me to do. And I want you to kind of think about that tonight and say, okay, if you're someone who has embraced this wholeheartedly, would you just I am doing this. I have been like, okay, let me listen and see if I gain something. And I'm asking you to do the same thing. Just let it down for a moment and think through some things and let's talk about it together and put these in your thoughts and just mull them over. Pray about this stuff. Okay. And then let's move on from here. Okay, this isn't easy for me, and I'll just tell you this isn't easy for me because I have a lot of friends who are actually Ann Vanderstill's precious to me. I love her. She's a friend. Um, I've been on her show. I think she's a wonderful lady. She's into this. Other people are into this that are my friends, like people I've developed relationships with on True Social or Twitter or even in real life. Um, and so this is a little difficult for me, but I feel like I have to share this because there's a bridge out. When there's a bridge out, you go tell your people, you go tell your friends, and you say, "Hey, there's a bridge out up ahead." You don't just go, "Okay, well, let them figure it out on their own," and just don't step on their toes. There's a bridge out. I'm going to come tell you about it, and I hope that you know that that is my heart is love. It always has been a love for patriots. I have a vehement, righteous anger for psyops and for deception and for anything that would steer us from the truth. And guys, that stuff is subtle. It's so subtle. Think back over our history, your own personal history, right? My personal history. We've all been duped. And I think some of the reason we are grabbing onto this in particular in some instances might be that we're so tired of being duped and hey, this is something really different and maybe this is why nothing's working, right? But even this, we have to really stop and think and use critical thinking. Um, and I think some people have probably had like, oh, I don't know if that feels right, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. It's just I don't, most of it feels right, but a little bit of it doesn't. That is the definition of uh, your brain working. It picked up on something. If your brain's picking up on something that doesn't sit quite right, don't condemn your brain. Don't say, "Ugh, you're just being rude or, well, my intuition is never correct. I've had this conversation before on one of my shows. Don't discount your intuition. Don't discount your thoughts in your brain. As a matter of fact, it was about the General Flynn and it was about 5GW. Uh, speaking of that, this right here. It was about 5GW. Now, I don't have the second book up here yet, but I will. Um, but don't discount what your brain is telling you. If you have a little bit of it doesn't quite sit right, remember that your intuition is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. So we're going to go through some of this tonight. Okay. All right. Let me just get into it. We're going to go over here and listen to a little bit of David Straight, who is the leader of I understand he is the leader of sovereign citizens, but now it's changed to state nationals. And here's why it changed. And I don't know that it's completely changed. I think there's two camps. There's now two camps. So it was always sovereign citizen, but now they're saying, oh no, we can't be sovereign and a citizen at the same time, which is just the next level of stop being a citizen. It was sovereign citizen, and then they decided, well, if we're telling everybody to stop being citizens, we can't call us sovereign citizens. So we're going to change it to state national, or or it's I can't quite tell. Is it all the same guy at the top, the same people at the top changing the narrative, helping people down a little bit further down the path? I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. But I do know that I had a state national tell me this week on Truth Social in DMs that the sovereign citizen thing in his mind was a psyop and a smear campaign. This came from a state national. Okay. And I've been saying they both are. So you've got state nationals saying about the sovereign citizens. So now there's even another divide. Do you see all the divides that are happening? All the divides? There's a problem when things are constantly dividing, pulling people away. I won't get into the whole one over on Twitter where people are trying to divide us against General Flynn and Boone Cutler and Roger Stone and all these people. So, but we're gonna stay in this lane tonight. All right. So I wanted to preempt it with that. Let's, with no further ado, go over here and listen to a little bit of David Straight. Ready?
Majority of problems we have in America and the world. They own and control everything. I got a good friend, he's fairly young. His name is Justin, and Justin sailed through high school. He has the ability to read and retain every word, every page number. Look it up later, know where it is, what book it came out of, who wrote it. Just blows my mind, his level of competency. 2 years of law school, and he got a doctorate after high school. Probably one of the youngest attorneys I've ever seen. Passed the bar on this first try with an 800 score.
Wrong screen. Sorry. I keep going to the wrong screen tonight. I've been away from the mic too long. I'm forgetting how to do my own show. Okay, I just want to make a couple of observations here real quick. I want you to pay attention to a couple of things which are great psychological tools. Talking slowly is a great of course it's a 5-day seminar. First of all, it's a 5-day seminar. Okay, so we're not going to go through all that. But I want you to pay attention to some cues and some clues that are um can just be normal and also can be used to steer people Okay, so the very relaxed manner of speaking is, you're drawn to someone like this. Think about what draws you. Think about how relaxed you start feeling. Okay, and then the next thing is a lot of anecdotal stories. There are a lot of feel good stories, emotional stories, a lot of emotion. Um, there was someone on Twitter this week, and I will quote it if I can find it, but talked about, put out a post and said, can people be steered by emotion? One of the people that steers people by emotion more than anybody I know, actually. Um, and so, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to put my fingers right on it, but um, no, I'm not going to. That's okay. But anyway, the point being, emotion. Oh, here it is. Use your logic. Can emotions be used to influence decisions? This was not me writing this. How do you control emotion? Define plant. How do you insert a plant? Can emotions be used to insert a plant? Okay, well, can emotions be used to steer us? How much are we led by emotion? Okay, so I want you to pay attention to how many anecdotal stories. We're not going to go through his whole seminar, but there's a lot of anecdotal stories. The other thing I want you to notice is there is a real lack of receipts and actual proof of things that are said. A lot of stories, little proof. Um, another great way to um, help people out of their critical thinking is to, well, let's just go there. And I don't know if these stories are true. I have no way of knowing this, but that should be a red flag. Not a red flag. That should be a something I go chase down and find out, that I don't just let people get away with stories and telling me things that I can't substantiate. Does that make sense? Um, Biden, you know, with the guy who felt the hair on his leg and the chain popcorn pop, and the stories, the anecdotal stories, they're very like, oh, aren't those cute? Well, obviously we don't think they're cute from Biden, but his followers think they are, and they believe them because, oh, he's just such a cute storyteller. Okay, so you get my point. I have an ex who uh, left and moved to a completely different town, and he made up a whole life and made up a whole different story about actually what really happened, because there no one knew what actually happened. So you get my point. Is as you listen to stories, keep them as that's just a story, but it does not help you build what you believe as truth and as fact. All right, enjoy the feel good, separate that from fact. Okay, deal. All right, I will check the I will check the chat too, but I just want to set everything up. Okay, going back to David Straight.
Nobody does that. And he went to work for one of the largest law firms in Seattle. And at his celebration party, they rented the Space Needle for a celebration party for the night. So the entire law firm had it. They had dinner, and then Justin's standing there and he's looking out the windows at the city lights of Seattle. And the main partner of the law firm walked up and put his arm around Justin, and he said, "What do you see out there? Who do you think controls all of that? We've got some of the largest companies in the world. We've got Microsoft and Amazon and Boeing right here in Seattle. Who do you think controls those? Who do you think controls the little mom and pop stores down there on the pier in downtown? Who do you think controls the state of Washington's government and all the little municipalities and the county governments? Who do you think controls all that?" And Justin proceeded to say, "Well, we the people elect our representatives and they control government, and the CEOs make the..."
From there, so he goes into this long story, and the next thing he says is he tells this guy, No, we do, the lawyers do. We control everything with lawfare, et cetera, and then this guy was so rent and emotional that he went and said, "I quit," and he got rid of his degree, his bar license, whatever. Okay, that's a story. Let's put it in the story category. We can't substantiate that. I really hope someone didn't throw away their law license because someone said something to him that emotionally twisted him. You know, really, I really hope that's not true. I hope that story's not true for that person's sake because I would hope that that person would go and do a lot of digging and research to find out first before just, "Oh, no, that's terrible, and I quit." And that's what David Straight makes leads everybody to believe that this guy did. We have no way of knowing that that person actually did that. Gosh, I hope he didn't. I really do. All right, let's move down into, let's get out of that story and into a little bit more interesting stuff. He says that guy tore his bar card up, walked out, and threw it away. Who does that after a conversation? And then he goes on to say, "I'm really proud of him." He said he's gotten 20 or 30 attorneys to tear up their barcodes, and he says he's got judges to help them. Now, one of the things about the judges is some of these people are self-appointed judges, and he's calling some people judges that are self-appointed judges. So, I that's gonna be later in the seminar, but yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Alright, let me go back to it just a little bit here. One second. Let me find another spot here that I want you to see. Okay, right here. I think this is a good spot. Add him back in. And I'm sorry, this is gonna be a little choppy because of how I'm doing this, but that's
Actually, it wasn't. It was Genesis 1:26 through 28. God gave me man dominion over the land, the air, and the water, and this is law. The land became common law, common to all mankind. It's property, it's equity, it's rights. It's our rights. They're unalienable. What does unalienable mean?
I use the
They
Bible a lot
cannot
as
place
well,
a
guys.
lien upon
I
our
love the
rights.
Bible, but
That's
we
what
use
it
the
means.
Bible a lot to,
Those rights are
prop up this
unalienable.
stuff.
It has to do with things of property nature, patents and grants and securities, gold and silver, commodities, things we own, right? Things we own. That's what common law is. It deals with properties and it deals with our rights. The air, which is the highest form of law, the air is above the land, which is above the water.
This is getting interesting
The
here.
air
Listen to
is
this.
ecclesiastical or canon law, which is trust law. All things held in trust, held in the benefit of another, are heirs. It's trust law. That's all it is.
Okay. So, sorry. The air is trust law. The air is trust law? Okay. How do we get there? We get there. uh, so what he said, and I don't know if you missed it or if I just missed it, but he said law means he's basically saying law equals land, air, water. He says it means land, air, water. The etymology of law has nothing to do with land, air, water. I had a long conversation with a person on True Social about this, and I said, Law does not mean this. That's an acronym. Let's go to the etymology of the word. Let's go to the definition of the word. It doesn't mean this at all. And the etymology and the actual definition of the word you can find yourself. And it literally comes from, it boils down to, orders and things, that you abide by, that you obey, that whatever. So the idea of what we know law to mean. And this person and a lot of people kept pushing, or a few people kept pushing back at me and saying, no, it means land, air, water. And I said, it's literally not an acronym. And so this one person came in to True Social, was telling me it's all about property, real property, and land. which is like the soil and the water and the air above that land. And I'm like, okay, if you're talking to me about property, if you're talking to me about real property, whether it's, whatever kind of real estate or property that you own, and you want to say that the laws that pertain to your property include the sky above your land, the soil underneath, what you can see, and all of that. Okay, I can get on board with a real property having to do with the air, the water, and the soil in the space of that property. That if for some reason you're going to court over your property, or you're buying property or selling property, or there's some kind of issue and you need legal or law or whatever to deal with that piece of property that contains both water and soil and air, I think that's totally legitimate. You can actually have, you can use an acronym if you'd like to describe what items are being dealt with when you're dealing with real property. Could you just change your, I said, could you please just change the acronym to be like LWA or WLA or WAL? Make it wall so that there's not a confusion between law and law. So I'm going to go back a little bit and I want you to listen to how he frames it, because that's not how he's framing it here. He's not framing it as, well, he did say for a second, but he ends up really just talking about law in general over this 5 days as being land, air, water, which then goes into all these different uh, really hard curves down really weird paths to get us to, I am a seaworthy vessel. We'll get there. We'll get there. But right now, we're just going to talk about this little piece. Um, so it starts here, the little seed. Okay, if I can, this is what bothers me so much. If you can breadcrumb something, and okay, this makes sense a little bit. Okay, yeah, I can see property. Yep. Okay. Oh, well, that next little breadcrumb. Okay, maybe the next little breadcrumb makes some sense. You put them all together, and it doesn't make sense. You step out here and go 40-foot view, 40,000-foot view. This is like, no, this doesn't make sense anymore. But just because you can tie a little something here and a little something here does not, in fact, make this real. Sorry. I'm pretty worked up about this. I've been in this for days, and the more I see it, the more angry I get. I'll just be honest with you, because good people, some of you people are being duped, and it just makes me sick. It makes me sad. Okay, continuing on. Thank you for your patience with my I'm being emotional, and I'm not trying to steer you with my emotion, but I do want you to listen. I want you to have some critical thinking and think about this stuff for yourself. Okay, let's go back just a little, and I want you to hear what he says about law.
Debts and securities, gold and silver,
Okay, let's do this again.
and try and hold me, a man, accountable. Could you answer that question? You watched my video, okay? No, actually it wasn't. It was Genesis 1:26 through 28. God gave me, man, dominion over the land, the air, and the water.
That's where they get this right here.
And this is law. The land became
This is
common
law.
common to all mankind. It's property, it's equity, it's rights. It's our rights. They're unalienable.
Did you get that? Do you see what I'm saying right there? He didn't say that land air this acronym is just about when I need to go to court and talk about my real property. He said from the Bible set up law as land, air, water. Okay. Now, do we have dominion over the earth? Absolutely. Did also God give us the free will to set up organization and government? Absolutely. And we did. That's the way we have, how we're all able to live together in harmony. You got to have some boundaries. This is just called boundaries. Our laws are there for good boundaries. Anybody who doesn't have boundaries, I could recommend a whole bunch of books, codependency books. Go read uh, uh, Melody Pia, I think is her name. Go read a bunch of different people, like Clown and Townsend. we'll talk about boundaries, but having a government set up for this many people, millions of people, you got to have the law of the land. But he is saying, nah, we go back to, I don't have to answer to anybody. So that's where this leads to. I don't have to answer to anybody. Let's keep going.
What does unalienable mean? They cannot place a lien upon our rights. That's what it means.
Okay, what does that mean? Cannot place a lien upon our rights. In other words, I get to do anything I want to without anybody telling me anything different. And as you go through this seminar, this is exactly what happens. And we'll just keep going. So think about it. You got to think about this stuff, what he's saying, and how he's wordsmithing this.
Those rights are unalienable. It has to do with things of property nature.
He says it right there,
Patents
property
and
nature, one
grants
time.
and securities, gold and silver, commodities,
We're not
things
talking
we
about
own,
we're not
right?
talking about your land anymore.
Things we own. That's what common law is. It deals with properties and it
Okay, so I want to push back at the person today who told me yesterday, actually, that land, air, water had to do with real property. This gentleman right here is telling me that land, air, water law has to do with law, the word law, and that it has to do with everything. It is not just about your, you know, a piece of property. It's not about real estate law. It's not about and this person who is pushing back at me, I guess, believes that. But that right there, what he just said, invalidates that. Keep going.
deals with our rights. The air, which is the highest form of law, the air is above the land, which is above the water. The air is ecclesiastical or canon law, which is trust law. All things held in trust, held in the benefit of another, are heirs.
Okay, right here. Listen to that. Our heirs. Heir, H-E-I-R, and A-I-R are not the same word. They're not the same word. But do you see what he's doing? So he just said land, air, water, air, heirs. Just a nice little candy trail. So subtle. And it's really not subtle because air and air don't mean the same thing. They really just don't mean the same thing at all. But listen to what his explanation is of air and how our laws. I can't quite get it, but see if you can.
It's trust law. That's all it is. In Genesis 1:26 through Genesis 2:25 is a trust indenture. Why did God start that off right in the very beginning of the Bible? He put the world under trust to mankind. We're the trustees. He's the executor. He placed it to us to manage for the benefit of our beneficiaries, our future heirs, for generations to come. Lives on in perpetuity forever. And what is the definition of forever? Until the end of the earth. Forever is till the end of the earth. Then we're in eternity. Okay? So it lives on in perpetuity forever. The jurisdiction of the water is admiralty law. It is commerce. It's contract law.
I don't know how we get there.
Things held in contract.
How do we get there? How do we get there? How does how does admiralty law get to contract law? I guess he's going to tell us eventually, but I'm sorry. I can't. It's really hard for me to sit back and listen to this. Keep going. Sorry.
Now, there's some interesting elements to a true contract that the Bar Association doesn't want to teach you. The Bar Association teach you there's got to be an agreement, consideration, and both people have to sign, and you've got a contract. Well, that's not true. There's 8 elements of a contract, okay? But one of the most important of those elements is a contract has to be between like kind. Can a man write a contract with a man? Yes. And when I
He
use the
goes on to
word man
say
today, that means
everybody, so people
mankind.
can with
I'm
people,
not
but
being
people
gender
cannot
specific,
sign a
it's
contract with an
mankind.
entity.
It's
And he
our
gets into
species.
corporation, which this is where I want to get to
Okay?
tonight.
So a man can have a contract with a man, but a corporation has to have a contract with a corporation. Can a man have a contract with a corporation? No. Can't. It's like kind versus like kind. Why do they put things in corporations? Anybody know?
Is that true? Can a corporation only have a contract with a corporation? Can anybody fact check that? I don't really know. I don't really know why that. I guess that's going to build to something, but I'm just kind of curious about that. That's something I need to dig on.
No? Why did they start doing that?
When or why? To limit the liability just to that corporation so that the
So he asked, why did they start having corporations?
Okay.
dude only the assets of the corporation.
This is an
You're exactly
interesting.
right. It's to limit liability. So if a man has integrity, purpose, knows all 8 elements of a contract and writes a proper contract where there's a meeting of the minds, there's full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract, there's equal consideration where one person gives something up and one receives, and the other gives something up and the other receives, has to be a two-way street. If that's true, why do they have to form corporations?
I love his
No,
answer.
I'm serious. The reason
Not really.
is because lack of integrity. If we had integrity, we'd never need a corporation.
Is that true? If we had integrity, we would never need a corporation? Let's just listen just another minute and then we're going to stop listening for tonight of him, but we're going to just talk some more. So I'm not going to bore you with him all night. I'm going to keep pulling some clips and doing some more of these shows, but this gets into some of the meat of it here.
If we were honest, we'd never need a corporation. Corporations exist so that people can be taken advantage of.
Okay, again, no, sir, that is not accurate. So that's where I wanted to get to tonight, and I'm not going to keep boring you with more of it tonight. I'm going to bore you some more with some more another night, another day. Um, but I want to read to you um, some information about the word corporation. Okay. Um, First of all, he said that a corporation is only needed because people aren't honest and they're trying to hide their dishonesty, hide their bad character. That's what he said. So therefore, let's see how that extrapolates out. So when you start, which we get to at the end of, part of all of this whole sovereign citizen and state national thing is that, DC is a corporation and it's owned by the crown. Of course, we've debunked that. If you were not on Twitter or Truth Social, I've got the debunk for that. If you know who Jan Halper Hayes is, I don't really know who she is. She's only just popped up in the last couple of weeks. Still kind of vetting her a little bit, but she was on the Big Meg show, and I'm friends with George and with Lance, and George and I were talking the weekend prior, and he told me she was coming on. I said, "Hey, I want you to ask these specific questions." Because she had said like 2 or 3 weeks ago in an interview with BBC over in Britain, she lives over there, um, that Biden is the president of the now defunct or bankrupt corporation, and everybody went nuts. Like, yes, state citizen and or state national and sovereign citizen, they're real and we're right. And DC is foreign soil and it's owned by the crown. And I mean, it just went crazy. Like she finally said a sentence. Biden is the president of the bankrupt corporation, and I'm like, nope. Let's break this down, guys. So when she came on the show, um, everybody was saying, "See, DC is owned. It's owned by the crown." And she also put up a certificate, which is another thing. It's a bottle cap company. But back to this point, this whole thing is going to, we debunked this because I asked George to ask her, okay, what does, when you say DC is foreign, because she said that, ask her what she means because it's not owned by the crown. And so he asked her, he said, what does it mean? What does foreign mean? And she said, well, DC has its own constitution, is what she said. It's its own entity. It is not owned by London, England, the Vatican, the crown, anybody. It's not owned by somebody across the pond. DC is its own, Washington, DC is its own place. Here's why. We cannot put it in a state. Then it would come up under the laws of that state because guess what, guys? The states trump the Fed. Our states' rights outweigh the federal. And we have been looking at this all backwards. We've gotten so in the mindset of, oh, the big oppressive federal government is, and they are, but because we've let them, because we've forgotten that our states' rights are what make this country. We are a country and a body of 50 states. And as a matter of fact, each state has its own constitution. Now, if it's repugnant, if there's any laws that are repugnant in your constitution to the main constitution, then those need to be dealt with, because our beautiful constitution, uh, it cannot be altered by the state constitutions. It cannot be stepped on by the state constitutions. They must come in line with that. However, our states, we dictate to the federal government what we want and need as a country, right? We're the ones, the 50 states are the ones who send the electors. The 50 states are the ones who send the legislators, the senators, the congressmen. The 50 states are the ones who say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and be constitutional carry in our state. Federal government, you don't get to decide that for us. See what I'm saying? We decide in our states how it's going to be. It should be constitutional carry in every state. I will argue that with the Constitution. There should not be any shuttering of our 2A rights anywhere, and any of those laws that are repugnant to the Constitution. However, my point is the state has more power. So DC cannot come up underneath a state because then it would be up under, it would have to come up under those state rule, and it can't. It can't. No two states can intermingle, even according to the Constitution. You can't mix two states, and you also cannot mix the federal government into one state. It is there to help all 50. So it stands alone like it's an island. It's on our mainland, but it's its own entity. That's what it means. She confirmed that. And then she did a Twitter Spaces this week, and I got up on the microphone, and again I said, "Hi Jan, thank you for coming. Would you please explain for everyone in this room what foreign means, and that does not mean that we're owned by the crown?" And she said, again, she doubled down. Foreign means it's its own entity. It's its own entity. Okay. So when this guy comes along and says corporation, and he's defining for you. So what's happening is there's a lot of little tiny, let's set the stage. Let's give some anecdotal stories that really kind of warm your heart and soften the ground. And let me tell you that I'm proud of someone for tearing up their law license because he's put himself in some kind of place of authority. Okay, he doesn't have authority over me. Um, and yeah, I still don't know if that story is true. If that's, again, that's sad if it is. But now he's defining words so that for the next 5 days, as he talks about the things he wants to talk about, he's planted for you that law means land, air, water, that corporation means people are have no character and are nefarious, and that's the only reason that we have corporations. I'm going to read to you what corporation is, and also a definition that I was given today on True Social. Okay. First of all, I wanted to find out, and I researched then what was the concept of corporations first. When was it first created? And I found they do date back to ancient times, which is a lot of what the sovereign citizens and state nationals are going to refer back to. All the words that they're wanting to refer back to are ancient times. Ancient times. And if you're drawing from either the Norman or the French version of the words at all, then then you're drawing from the satanic, demonic ones. But you need to draw from, I don't know if it's the Latin ones that they think are pure and holy, or what, but depending on what the word is rooted in determines whether or not they accept it or not. So I'm finding that to be an interesting concept of this as well. Anyway, but the modern form of the corporation as a legal entity with limited liability and distinct legal personhood emerged during the late Middle Ages and the Renaissance in Europe. One of the earliest examples of this concept is the Dutch East India Company, VOC, established in 1602. The VOC was one of the first corporations to issue bonds and shares to the general public, allowing individuals to invest in the company. Here's the reason allowing individuals to invest in the company and share in its profits while limiting their liability to the amount invested. This was a significant development in the history of corporations. The primary purpose of these early corporations, including the VOC, was to facilitate large scale business ventures, especially in the context of overseas trade and exploration. They allowed investors to pool their resources to fund expensive and risky expeditions while also limiting their personal financial liability in case of business failure or legal issues. Okay. The idea of limited liability and the separation of a corporation's legal identity from its owners played a crucial role in the development of modern business and commerce. Mhm. Over time, these concepts were refined and adapted into the legal systems of various countries, including the United States, where corporations became essential entities for conducting business and raising capital. This is the reason for corporations. And then I went into the etymology of the word, um, where it stemmed from, and then I was told, "Oh, you're getting it from the wrong ancient." I'm like, "Okay, let me break that down for you." So I did, and I proved that from all the different languages, it meant the same thing. Well, the pushback I got, um, this is what I got pushback with. One second, I'll find it. Sorry, scrolling. Here it is. This is what I got in retort. Incorporation. Noun. The act of uniting several persons into one fiction called a corporation, in order that they may be no longer responsible for their actions. A, B, and C are a corporation. A robs, B steals. Oh, sorry. A robs, B steals, and C cheats. It is a plundering, thieving, swindling corporation. But A, B, and C, who have jointly determined and severally executed every crime of the corporation, are blameless. And then in brackets, it's got Ambrose Bierce, Bierce, comma, 1885. So this was the pushback that I was given when I was putting up the etymology and the actual meaning of corporation and where it came from. This was the definition I was given by one of the people who are compassionate towards or all in with the state national. Um, and so I did a little dig on who is this Ambrose Bierce, and this is what I got. This basically is a satirical and critical interpretation of the concept. It suggests that the act of forming a corporation can be used to shield individuals from personal responsibility for their actions, even if the corporation as a whole engages in unethical or illegal activities. This definition highlights a common criticism of corporations. So it's a common criticism, and I agree with that. Particularly in terms of accountability and the separation of personal liability from corporate actions. Ambrose Bierce, the author of this definition, was known for his satirical and often humorous commentary on various topics, including social and political issues. So I wanted to highlight that because this was the pushback I was given today. And this is what this gentleman is setting this 5-day conference up is to say that corporations were created by evil men doing evil things, and that's why they exist. And this is the foundation he is laying for a 5-day seminar on state nationalism. going to leave it there today, and we will continue. I'm going to do a whole series, and I won't do this every night at 8 o'clock. I'll do some pre-recorded and put them up randomly so that I won't lose you. I know not everybody wants to hear about this every night. I'll do some other great things and continue to have great speakers. I've got a couple lined up, but we're going to talk about this, guys. I'm going to hit this straight on because this is a psyop. Just the manner of how this is unfolding is got so many holes in it. And I want people to not be afraid of pushing back at this or feeling like you're going to lose friends over it. You shouldn't. Really, we shouldn't. We can do it. We love each other, right? And if you believe in this, I love you. It hasn't changed what I think about you as a person, unless you're one of the people who's intentionally psyoping someone, and then that means I really don't know you, right? So I just want us to walk through this. I don't know of anybody else who's walking through this door except for me, and I can't let it go. Just like I couldn't let the drop boxes go, I can't let this go. Once it hit my plate, I'm like, tilt. And when I found out 2 weeks ago, I almost deleted my entire Twitter account, my entire Truth Social account. I'm really glad I didn't. It took a long time to build that up, but you know, I was so overwhelmed and a little bit like shock over how many people have fallen into this and maybe what probably maybe possibly benefit from going back through this again with 40,000-foot view. So anyway, I just want to bring that to you. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Let me check the chat and see if anybody's yelling at me yet. Nope, nobody's yelling at me. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. I've got a couple comments. Oh, it's my friends. Thank you. It's so good to see Sherry on here. Hey, guys, I wanted to say congratulations to Sherry, who is in the chat, AZ Sherry 7. Y'all, I'm so proud of her, and I don't say that condescendingly. She's a sister and a dear person. But because of our efforts, um, she has become a precinct committee member, and I could not be more elated and excited for you, Sherry. Thank you so much for picking up that call and saying I'm going to go and get involved. This is also what this is about, guys. This is everything that this is about, and this is the reason that I'm bringing this to you, um, because it is about us getting involved. And this other stuff gets you uninvolved and gets you jumping out of the boat. And no, I'm not talking about Admiralty law. So that's not what I mean. But yep, Sherry, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to watch your journey, to hear about it. I want to hear all about it, every detail. We all do. I'm going to have you on the show if you want to come on, and maybe we'll talk through the process of what you're experiencing in this place. So that's exciting. And then also, yes, you do. I see that. And Derek, hi. He says, I love you. Thank you for all you do, my dear friend. Crystal Tinney posted online that she went to his seminar. If you have a way to contact her and pick her brain about it, I don't know who that is, but I'm going to listen to the whole seminar. And yeah, maybe you, Derek, let me know who that is, or I don't know who that is, but you're most welcome. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here and supporting me. You guys, this isn't easy. I feel like I'm carrying a big weight on my shoulders. I'll just be honest with you, but that's like an intercession. I feel like I've got to push through this. I've got to speak what's in my heart to you guys about this. I've got to let this out. I've got to speak truth and tell you about the bridge being out. If you want to support my channel, that would be so grateful. If you would, please share this out everywhere. Share this on Twitter, True Social, Gab, Getter, all the places. It's live streaming on Pilled. It is live streaming on Rumble, and I did send it out to Twitter, True Social. But if you would help retruth and repost, I guess we're not retweeting anymore. Rexing, I don't know. Send that out to your friends. Get this out. I would love to really have this conversation with more people and get more exposure to this in a loving way. As well, if you want to become a financial supporter of the show, I would not stop you. It would bless me. I am yeah, it'd be great. Buy me a coffee, buy me a day of electricity, a day of being able to broadcast to you, and so that I can keep bringing you more information. You can do that a few ways. You can do some Rumble rants while we're live, and you can do it that way right there in the chat. Or you can become a subscriber on Rumble or locals. You can join our locals channel for $5 or more a month. Got a few people there who have subscribed and are faithful monthly supporters. And I just want to say thank you to my faithful supporters, the faithful listeners. If you're just on here listening, thank you too. I'm so glad you're here. Thankful to all of those who pray for me every day. It just blows my mind. I love that so much. I'm so blessed and propped up on your prayer. I really am. Um, it's not easy being out on the front. It's not. Now, I'm not near as on the front as like Greg and Catherine are, who need pff, bajillion more support than I do. But we're all out here doing our piece that God's called us to, and I want to be faithful to that. And I just want to say thank you to all those who do support. You can also support on my Venmo, which is what is my Venmo? It runs through on the front of my show. I should really run it on the back side of my show, not on the front side of my show. But um, my Venmo or there's a Give Send Go as well if you want to support there. Give Send Go / the Coach Mel Show. And then my Venmo is, I'm pulling it up if my phone doesn't die, because you know how me and tech are sometimes. It is at Coach dash Mel dash show, not underscore, at Coach dash Mel dash show. That is Venmo. And God bless you to anyone who feels compelled or called to pray about it. And if the Lord taps you to send something over, then I bless him for that too. He's our provider, right? I'm not depending on you to be my provider. I'm depending on him to be my provider. But also, I love the idea of people sowing where they feel fed. And this is a ministry. I am a spirit-filled, full of Jesus believer in him. And I do shows sometimes just about the Lord. And I want you to know that he is our number one. He's the whole reason that we even exist and have breath in our lungs. I'm so grateful for him and to him for my life. And I'm so grateful to him for this country. The save is going to start with him. It's going to be him. Oh, I want to tell you one more thing before we go. I was on True Social today and talking about this stuff and realizing that there's a lot of people who are vacating their citizenship, which means, by the way, that means you cannot vote in the presidential election. That means you're going to have a visa to work, just like any other foreigner. Um, yes, there is a benefit that you will not have to pay federal taxes, income taxes. Okay. But you still have to obey the laws of the land. You don't get away from those. And so they're saying don't be a citizen so you don't have to obey the laws. All that's really happening is you're not being a citizen and you still have to obey the laws. So there's also some trickery in there. There's still laws. You don't just get to, you know, be lawless. You don't get to be lawless. We're not supposed to be. As a matter of fact, God said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God's. So he even recognizes government. God recognizes government. Did you know he established? I'm sorry, I just went on a total different trail, didn't I? God establishes government. He sets up government. He says that in the word. Says that in the word of God. He sets up governments. He places kings. He places heads of government. He is the creator of government. The number 12 is about government. The 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 disciples, how many other times 12? There's some other 12s in there, but it's always about establishing of government. And we have established government under the Bible and under our Constitution. And that's just the way it is. So anyway, if you want to give, um, I appreciate it, and I bless you for that, and I thank you for your generous giving, and I also thank you for your prayers, and I just thank you for your love. Please let me know on True Social and Twitter. I feel like I'm kind of hanging out here to dry to do this by myself, and it's kind of a hard it's kind of a hard message to talk about, and I'm not afraid of hard. As you know, I'm not afraid to tackle things head on. I'm really not, and I will. But I could sure use some support, just verbally, out on True Social. And I appreciate those who come in, like you did, Derek, today. Thank you so much for that, for just coming in and be like, "You're doing good, Mel." And I'm like, "Oh, it's like a cool drink of water." Thank you. I really do appreciate it. So All right, my friends, it is great to see you. I will possibly have a show tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not completely sure. I'll put it up on True Social and Twitter if I am, and you will know then. All right. God bless y'all. Talk soon. Good night.